Hey friends, Ash here with Gents with another week in fragrance, and I think this is going to be the last This Week in Fragrance video for a long time. With the pandemic that's going on right now, there are not really many new fragrances being announced, and for good reason. I mean, people all across the planet right now can't even go shopping, depending on where you're at. You know, everybody's quarantined, isolated, so I don't anticipate many new releases being announced, especially not any big ones, at least not until things at least kind of go back to normal as much as they can. And really, I think a lot of the fragrances that had been announced, you know, over the past month or so through February, I don't really know how those are going to be released. A lot of the ones that I've talked about on here, the ones that aren't in stores yet, at least in America, I don't know when those are going to be rolled out. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they're pushed back. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now. But in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the fragrances that have been announced since the last time I did one of these videos. There's a bunch of different ones to go over. Some of these are available right now. So some of these you can order online if you're really interested in them, because they came out earlier this month in March. So some of these, if you wanted to, you can scoop up online. And some of these had been announced, and I was thinking about doing one of these videos back before everything went crazy. And I was waiting for some other, you know, bigger announcements to go along with them instead of just doing a video on like 2 fragrances. And then everything happened, and yeah, it just, everything has been thrown for a loop, obviously. I know I've rambled here a little bit at the beginning of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there. But let's go ahead and jump into this and talk about some of these fragrances that have been announced since the last time I did a This Week in Fragrance video. First off, I want to talk about Abercrombie & Fitch Authentic Nightman. Now, this is a fragrance that I had talked about maybe a month ago, month and a half ago, something like that. Could have been even longer, honestly. It's the newest Abercrombie & Fitch fragrance in their Authentic line of fragrances. And this one, I had a picture of the bottle, and I knew it was going to be coming out, but I didn't know any of the notes. And now I do know the notes for the fragrance. So I'm going to go ahead and just list those off, basically. And I don't know about any of you guys out there, but when I hear Nightman, Authentic Nightman, I think of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Nightman and Dayman. If you've never seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, that will make no sense to you at all. But if you're isolating right now and you've never seen it, maybe check out It's Always Sunny. But yeah, Nightman. Yeah, great name. So the notes here are a top of apple, rhubarb, and lotus, a mid of lavender, clary sage, and vanilla, and a base of ambroxan, oak moss, and leather. The rhubarb jumps out to me. That's a note that I don't see utilized all that often, and when it is, people seem to really enjoy it. It's got this nice tartness to it, along with a little bit of sweetness. Lotus, not a flower that you see very often either, so it's an interesting combo there in the opening, apple, rhubarb, lotus. At least that's a little bit different, a little bit out of the ordinary. Then you have lavender, clary sage, vanilla, and that's a little more common, that kind of pairing of notes there in the mid. Then in the base, oak moss, leather, and ambroxan. So this one, obviously, they're gonna be going for a night out date kind of fragrance, I would imagine. It's also possible though, that when they say Nightman, they're taking it more a clubbing kind of direction. Obviously, we won't know until we can actually get our hands on it, but who knows when that's gonna be. But those are the notes for Authentic Nightman. Okay, into the new releases. First off, one from Maison Martin Margiela, Bubble Bath. This is in their Replica line of fragrances, most well known for Jazz Club and By the Fireplace, but their newest one is Bubble Bath. And while you would probably think Bubble Bath is going to be a feminine fragrance, it is technically unisex. This fragrance is the scent of soap, bath, comfort, and purity, according to the Fragrance House. Bubble Bath evokes the sweet memory of an intimate moment of relaxation in a sparkling and calming bubble bath. The year is 2005 and the location is Beverly Hills. The scent should provoke a sense of immersion in warm scented water and relaxation of the body from all the tension. This one is supposed to have comforting clean accords as a top of bergamot pink pepper and soap, a mid of lavender flower, rose super essence, and jasmine absolute, and a base of patchouli, coconut, and white musk. And this one, bubble bath, is already for sale. Next up, a new fragrance in the L1212 line by Lacoste. And this one is called Pure Jeremyville. Not Jeremy Fragrance, Jeremyville. So this is Lacoste's collaboration with Jeremyville, bringing his bright colors, his catchy line, and his endearing characters to a new summer fragrance collection. There's one for men and one for women. The one for men is L1212 Pure, and for women, L1212 Sparkling. Jeremyville is the name of the artist, but it is also his dream city in which you can stroll to meet atypical characters, such as those he created in his collaboration with Lacoste. For L1212 Pure, the men's fragrance, his character is Mr. Ball. Yes. And for the women, Miss Racket. The two bottles were completely transformed under the stroke of pencil from Jeremyville, who gave life to the two new characters directly inspired by the Lacoste universe. Mr. Ball is a player of tennis whose head takes the form of a ball. A lot of thought went into that, I feel like. And then Miss Racket. You're gonna have to really rack your brain to think, how would Miss Racket look? Mr. Ball is a ball. Miss Racket is, oh, she looks like a tennis racket. Cool. Anyway, these are two dynamic characters who embody the two new collector's edition fragrances. And I imagine if you're a fan of Jeremyville's art, then you'll be really psyched about this. The men's version, L1212 Pure, has lemon, ginger, and grapefruit in the top. So you know right away what they're going for there. Very fresh, people-pleasing, sporty, summer, bright. You know the drill. In the mid, rosemary, and then pomerose, and then suede musk and cedar in the base. For the women's version, L1212 Sparkling, a top of mandarin, rhubarb, and pink grapefruit, mid of jasmine, magnolia, and peony, and a base of macaroon and patchouli. Next up, let's talk about new Issey Miyake Low DC Shades of Kolam. And if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, sorry. So this is supposed to be essentially a reimagining of Low DC, a reinvention of Low DC Pour Homme. And this is being done with the artist duo Twice Studio, making up the packaging, so the bottle and the box design, and then Marie Salamania as the perfumer. And this is basically inspired by the art of Kolam. So you have contrasting richness of colors and shapes, at least in the design of the art on the bottle and the box. And that again is being done by Twice Studio. And then the perfume itself is supposed to be woody, elegant, and radiant. It captures a market atmosphere with mountains of lively spices. The warmth of light wood combines with a dazzling green tea accord. The fragrance of cardamom seeds explodes, accompanied by grapefruit and bergamot. As a heart note, green tea rises above the elegance of the strong note of coriander. The woody base is made of cedar and cashmeran, which is reminiscent of the scorching heat of southern India, but also of the sweetness of a tea with milk and cardamom, which is served in the Chennai markets. Simply delicious, according to the brand. In case you missed it, this one has in the top bergamot, grapefruit, and green cardamom, in the mid, coriander and green tea, and in the base, cashmeran and cedarwood. Not really a big surprise to see cashmere in there, because cashmere is popping up all over the place, or had been, in modern men's releases. Next up, let's talk about Dolce Gabbana Light Blue Love is Love. And this one is one of the fragrances that is already for sale, and I believe a few people have already done reviews on this one. I saw this when it was very first announced, and actually this was fragrance that I saw, and I was like, well, let me wait for a few more releases to come out so I can do a video about some of the upcoming releases like I typically would do. And then all of this happened, and yeah, so I never did the video until now, I guess. So this one is already out if you're interested in it. Light Blue Love is Love is the new limited edition summer version of the Light Blue line. So there's a light blue pour homme, and then light blue for women as well. Light blue love is love, rather, for women and pour homme. This summer, Dolce, that sounds like it's a movie. This summer, Dolce & Gabbana makes the attraction of light blue even more irresistible. The classic woody and musky scent is boosted by vibrant citrus and crisp Granny Smith apple. A surprising twist of apple gelato is contrasted by aromatic rosemary and pink pepper notes, enhancing this fragrance's passion and sensuality. So in the men's version, Light Blue Love is Love, it has bergamot, grapefruit, mandarin, and green apple. And then it has in the mid, rosemary, pink pepper, and sorbet. And then in the base, musk, vanilla, and amberwood. Where I guess sorbet, they technically said apple gelato, so not sorbet, gelato in the mid. Since my channel is watched by like 95% guys, let's go on to the next fragrance. It is Bond TriBeCa, Bond number 9 TriBeCa. TriBeCa for a special occasion. Encounter the stylish new perfume that reveals the revival of a place. The style is a sexy, shared floriental that's classy and youthful, similar to the inhabitants of TriBeCa. And when they say shared, they mean unisex. So this one is a floriental gourmand, coming out this spring 2020, and it's named after TriBeCa, downtown New York's most thrilling and innovative hub. This one's got a top of hazelnut and cacao, a mid of jasmine and cedar, and a base of caramel, oak moss, and ambroxan. And the price that I saw for this was $405 for a 100 milliliter at full retail. So assuming that is correct, it's gonna be expensive. Bond number 9 for me is one of those niche houses that is very much hit or miss. And a lot of times they're misses, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. A lot of those Bond number 9s are not worth the money. Now, some of them I do like a lot. And unfortunately, some of the ones that I like a lot are discontinued, but they have at least some fragrances that are worth checking out. Whether TriBeCa is going to be one of those or not remains to be seen. Next up, let's talk about 4711 Remix Cologne 2020. This is supposed to come out April 2020, and it's a new optimistic solar and citrusy splash on the market, a limited edition of 4711, launching to uplift, energize, and share some sparkling joy. And actually, I've been seeing a lot of people online in the fragrance groups on Facebook saying that they're using 4711 almost as a impromptu like hand sanitizer, because it is like 80% alcohol, I think. And 4711 is super cheap. It's a cologne. It's got a little bit of a similarity to Neroli Portofino in the way that it comes across. I'm talking about the original 4711 here. Like I said, very, very inexpensive. And where it's fairly high up there in terms of alcohol content, people have been kind of splashing it on and using it like a hand sanitizer, basically. I haven't done that myself, and I also haven't looked up whether it actually works very well as a hand sanitizer also, I should say that. But assuming it does, not a bad idea, because 4711 doesn't last all that long. It's really refreshing and very pleasant, but it disappears pretty quickly. Just kind of wanted to throw that out there. Don't take that as medical advice. The inspiration for this new 4711 Remix Cologne is summer in the city. So that's kind of where they're going with this one. And with 4711 Remix Cologne, they do one each year, and they concentrate on one of the main notes from the original 4711, kind of highlight that note in the remix, and switch up the cologne a little bit. So with this one, 2020, they're highlighting lemon. So lemon is what they're really trying to put as the star of the fragrance here. So for example, in 2019, they did this as well, the Remix Cologne 2019, and they did lavender. So they highlighted lavender in that one, and this time it is lemon. This one has yuzu, Italian lemon, and shiso in the top. In the mid, violet, solar notes, roses, and orange blossom. Then in the base, white musk, patchouli, and amberwood. And typically these fragrances, 4711, you can pick them up really cheap from discounters. So that's one that I actually have got a little bit of interest in. And if I can pick that up for a good price, or maybe some of the other ones as well, I will do that. And I might start wearing those through spring and summer. And last up, I want to talk about Jil Sander SUNMEN Summer 2020. That's a lot of S's. Now that line, the Jil Sander SUNMEN line, I have a few of them. And they're off screen, so I shouldn't have pointed, but they're over there. I like the bottle. It's this very kind of blocky bottle that's not all that wide, but for whatever reason, I like the look of the bottle. You can pick them up for a very inexpensive price from discounters typically. And they're not really amazing fragrances, but they're serviceable, cheap, warm weather fragrances. They don't smell all that bad. They're not typically anything that's gonna be mind-blowing or groundbreaking, but as far as just being inoffensive, easy to wear, refreshing summertime fragrances, usually they're pretty good. And this new one, 2020, is formulated with flowers and fruits with an aromatic addition of cypress, juniper, and lavender. So this one has a top of cypress, tangerine, apple, and juniper, mid of lavender, cedar, and Tahitian tiara flower, and if I pronounced that incorrectly, I'm sorry, base of amber, tonka, woodsy notes, and sandalwood. And interestingly enough, for a summer fragrance, that one actually has a lot of notes that you would typically think of as heavier. I mean, in the top, it's got cypress and juniper, which is a little bit out of the ordinary for a summertime fragrance. And then in the mid, it has cedar wood. And then in the base, amber and tonka, along with woody notes and sandalwood. So that, to me, sounds heavier than you would typically expect for something being pitched as a summertime fragrance, because a lot of times if you throw summer on the end of a fragrance, you're thinking fresh, fruity, bright, refreshing, etc., you know, all that stuff. But a lot of those notes don't say that to me, so that interests me a little bit. Now, it could be that, you know, somebody out there or myself gets our hands on this fragrance and sprays it on, and it doesn't come across at all like what these notes would have you think. But yeah, that's my first impression. Typically don't see those in summertime fragrances. Well guys, that's gonna wrap up this week in fragrance. I don't know how many new fragrance announcements we're gonna have over these next few months. So if any come out there that are worth talking about, I'll do a video on it, but I think this could be it for a while. So there we go. That is it for this week in fragrance. Thanks for all your support, guys. I'll be here tomorrow with another fragrance video, and make sure you stay safe out there, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I'll see you tomorrow.